That's a clown question, bro.
So I'm gonna kick some dirt.
He gets on base.
Just a bit outside.
I'm not the type of player that's going to be Johnny Hustle.
If you don't want me to watch the ball, you can go get it out of the ocean.
And welcome to the show to be named later, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I am your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I am loving the expanded playoffs. I love it. This is a perfect time for this right now. You know, it's a shortened season, so everyone's all compact at this point. Pretty much anyone except for like the Red Sox or the Pirates, the Nationals, the Diamondbacks, the Rangers, the Royals, the Angels could make the playoffs at this point. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, that's about 22 teams in the playoff picture. Yeah, it's definitely what you need right now. It's definitely what you need. 60-game season. When there wasn't an expanded playoff announced, I was a little worried. Like, I feel like a 10-team playoff format in a 60-game season wasn't going to be really accurate, and I think we've seen that because a lot of the better teams are not doing as well as we would think they are. You know, notably like the Yankees, the Twins are actually in third place, so they'd be fighting for a wild card spot. It would be really something.
That's right.
So today, we'll start off with some, I guess, more sad news. Unfortunately, another Hall of Famer has been taken from us, kind of the same era as Tom Seaver. Lou Brock died at the age of 81 yesterday, or on Sunday, and he was the original stolen base king. He had 938 career stolen bases, and Rickey Henderson broke that, and he's still currently second all time in stolen bases. So unfortunately, a legend was taken from us on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, when you think Lou Brock as a baseball player, the first thing that comes to mind is always stolen bases. I believe he was the first person in the live ball era to steal 100 bases in a season. Is that correct?
That sounds about right, I think.
Let me make sure, because I want to believe that is true. He did it in, was it 1974. 118 stolen bases, Chris. A 306 average for a 749 OPS. 110 OPS plus, finished second in the MVP voting that year. A really impressive season. And that was at age 35, too. That was his best season, believe it or not, was age 35.
Yeah, and, this wasn't even when really he was stealing bases at a time when the stolen base, it wasn't quite heating it up as much as it was in the 80s. The 80s was kind of the peak of the stolen base coming back, but he played from 1961 to 1979. He started out in the era of Mantle and Mays, kind of more power guys. Power was more encouraged, but I think he might have been one of the revolutionaries in terms of kind of setting up like the 1980s and that sort of style of play with all the stolen bases.
He was like a preview for that, essentially. And by the way, Lou Brock was the second person to steal 100 bases in a season in the live ball era. The first was Maury Wills in 1962.
Oh, right.
104, and he beat him by 14. It wasn't even close, particularly.
Yes, of course we do remember Maury Wills for winning the 1962 MVP over Willie Mays.
Yeah, that was tough. But Lou Brock, also exactly 900 career RBIs, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, not exactly 900 RBIs.
3,000 hit club as well.
Yeah, having 900 RBI and having more stolen bases than an RBI is pretty wild to see.
Quite a feat, yeah.
Yeah, you're not seeing that a lot.
So he was the all-time stolen base leader for 16 years?
When did he break?
When did he break Ty Cobb's record? Not exactly sure. Either way, he held the record for close to 2 decades. It was broken by Ricky Henderson, and as of right now, he is second all-time on the all-time stolen base list. I do not see anybody ever coming close to him ever again, if we're being completely honest. Like 938 is ridiculous. People don't even attempt that many stolen bases in their careers nowadays. Lou Brock, he also, we should talk about his impact on the Cardinals clubhouse. He was a 2-time World Series champion for the Cardinals. He brought winning baseball to St. Louis, which is obviously a tradition there. And he was at the forefront of all those 80, not necessarily the 80s teams because he retired after 79, but he was there before, and he sort of set up for that dynasty that later came.
Yeah, he did. It was a big deal when he went over to St. Louis and he started to have more success there. And he's definitely a big part of that Cardinals Cubs history, part of the rivalry, and all that. I'm trying to see one thing.
The Cardinals are probably the most prestige franchise in the history of the National League, and Lou Brock was at the forefront of that for the entirety of his time there.
Yeah. So the league leader in stolen bases last year had 46 stolen bases, and so they would, if they wanted to tie Lou Brock, you'd have to get 46 stolen bases per year for 21 seasons.
Yeah.
That's how hard it would be to get to him. And
Probably
just
not.
the direction of the game, that's probably not going to happen unless we see a drastic change, which probably won't come for another at least quarter century if the game changes that much.
Yeah, and one other thing to note, Lou Brock, notably really good playoff hitter. He had 92 career plate appearances in the postseason, which is a lot considering he played in the era where it was just the World Series. There wasn't an LCS, there wasn't a division series. You get to the playoffs, you win your pennant, you go straight to the World Series. So having 92 World Series plate appearances is a lot in that era. 391 average with a 1079 OPS in 92 plate appearances for Lou Brock.
Yeah, that's pretty unbelievable.
Really impressive.
Very, very impressive. So yeah, he kind of set up that Cardinals success that they had in the 1980s. They won a World Series in '82, and they made it to a few World Series as well in '85 and '87. And he was a part of setting that whole situation up. So rest in peace to Lou Brock, definitely a legend of the sport, and will always be remembered in the baseball world.
Yeah.
So we're kind of we're somewhat in the middle of the season. We're kind of seeing,
little more.
Yeah, we're maybe
2/3 of the way through.
2/3 of the way through, and the playoff picture is starting to mold. But then again, not really, because they've only played 40 games, and a lot can happen in 40 games. So we're just kind of gonna go down the playoff picture. Just our thoughts on where each team kind of stands, their chances of, getting a top 3 seed or a 4 through 6 seed, wild card, or not making the playoffs. Just kind of a checkup on the entire league.
All right, so we'll start with the Tampa Bay Rays. This team is 28-13. They're currently losing 6-0 in the 8th inning to the Nationals. So not looking very good for them tonight. I think this team, obviously right now with how the rest of the AL East has sort of been stumbling, This team has a really good chance, the best chance in the AL of winning the division. They have a 5.5 game lead on the Blue Jays. That is the largest gap of any AL team for their division. Also, Brandon Lau, the guy who I had as my midseason MVP, has not been doing too well over the past couple weeks. I believe it was since, I want to say August 23rd. Since then, he has an 0.65 average. He's slowed down quite a lot. So that's been interesting to see. He actually did have a walk-off sac fly the other day too. So that was fun. But this team is still doing really well even without that. I mean, they're 28-13, like I mentioned, a 683 winning percentage, the best in the American League. If the season ended today, they would be the 1 seed. And I mean, I think if there's a division lock right now in the AL, it has to be the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, it definitely is the Tampa Bay Rays because, the Central is airtight. Any one of those 3 teams can win that division, and the Astros could knock at the door of the Oakland Athletics. And even with Brandon Lau not doing too well, someone who's kind of come out of the shadows is Willy Adames. He's been one of the best shortstops this year. He has a 924 OPS. He's hitting 302. He's been
Another name is Randy Arozarena. He's had a very limited number of at-bats, but I want to say he has like 15 plate appearances, 15 at-bats.
18 plate appearances.
18 plate appearances, a 467 average with a 1622 OPS. Not bad.
Yeah, he's got 3 home runs. He's 7 for 15 with 3 home runs.
Yeah,
resulting in a 1622 OPS.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean it's funny. It's fun to look at these teams and see what's causing them success. But I mean,
Randy Arozarena literally just homered, like as I was saying that. So we got to update his stats. He's now batting 500 with an 1829 OPS. I'm not kidding. He just homered straight up as I was saying that. That
is something.
Amazing timing.
That's pretty nuts. And the reasons why the Rays are winning is kind of how you would expect that they would be winning. I think Tyler Glasnow he had a rough start, but he's coming back, and I think his expected statistics he was underperforming his expected statistics, so that's coming back. Blake Snell is having pretty much a bounce back year. Charlie Morton had a rough start today, but that bullpen has even without some of their key guys, their bullpen has been absolutely nails too.
Yeah, and Nick Anderson came back from his injury too.
Yeah, he is back. He's 10 1/3 innings, no runs allowed, and 13.9 strikeouts per 9.
Yeah, Nick Anderson, one of my guys to look for at the beginning of the season, still is not. I mean, he did go on the IL, but he still has not allowed an earned run this season. Knock on wood, of course. Yeah, like you mentioned, 10 1/3 innings pitched, 16 strikeouts, a FIP of 0.63, 13.9 strikeouts per 9, 1.7 walks per 9, only 3.5 hits per 9 as well. He's been as expected so far this season.
Yeah. So that's the Tampa Bay Rays. Do you want to go down the AL East, or do you want to go down like seeding wise?
Yeah, let's do seeding wise.
Okay. So who's next?
Next is the Southsiders, Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, the Chicago White Sox.
It's making me eat my words.
Yeah, the Chicago White Sox. They've been a surprise. They've surprised me. I thought they would be a second place team, but nothing that would be above the 6th seed.
I had them finishing one game over 500.
Yeah, definitely eating that. So, yeah, they're another team where their success, it's coming from where you would expect it to come from. So you have that offense who have been producing. They've probably been the best offense in all of baseball, especially since they've started winning some games. Yasmani Grandal is pretty much back. He has an 816 OPS right now.
Yeah, he's been really hot. I'll get some recent numbers on him real quick.
Yeah, you got Jose Abreu, who I think leads the American League in position player B WAR. And you have Tim Anderson, who's also near the top. He's hitting 351 with a 985 OPS. Moncada has been a little slow, but then you have Eloy Jimenez, who has an 864 OPS. Luis Robert might be stealing his Rookie of the Year award back from Kyle Lewis here.
He's made it a lot closer than it was last week. Real quick, Yasmani Grandal over his last 12 games, 304 average with a 418 OBP. That is 9 walks in 55 plate appearances. That is a lot. A 609 slugging for a 1027 OPS, 4 home runs, only 12 strikeouts, which isn't bad because he's always been a strikeout guy. But yeah, he's been performing very well. His average has gone from 235 to 257. His OPS from 717 to 816. So that's risen by 100 points, just about.
Yeah, so yeah, he's definitely made the step up. As a team, they have an 805 OPS and a 117 OPS plus, which is very, very good for, just a team. Luis Robert, he's doing it, both on offense and on defense. The pitching staff is very interesting because you could say, Giolito, Keuchel, and Dylan Cease have been what you've needed them to be. But I think a lot, especially with...
The bullpen has been huge.
Yeah, bullpen has been very good too. But
I'll get into the bullpen starting.
With Keuchel and Dylan Cease, some of the success might not be sustainable, especially with Dylan Cease. But even Dallas Keuchel he's doing his best when he's getting soft contact. And I'm just bringing up his Baseball Savant page. Dallas Keuchel.
He's 5.4 strikeouts per 9. Keuchel.
Yeah, he's never been a strikeout guy, but usually he's putting up maybe 7 strikeouts per 9. Yeah. Okay, so his hard hit percentage is in the 78th percentile, which is pretty good, but his ex-WOBA against is in the 36th percentile. His expected ERA is in the 37th percentile. His expected ERA is 4.33. His actual ERA is 2.19. So we'll see if he sustains success. I mean, he's always been a pitch to contact guy, so I'm not too worried about Dallas Keuchel. He's still getting ground balls, and maybe they're hit harder than they used to be, but the defense is decent. But Dylan Cease it's pretty incredible what he's been able to do with the peripheral statistics he has.
Yeah, so the peripherals say he's about to blow up. Yeah,
and I was actually looking at his game logs, and I was looking at some of the guy's giving up a lot of warning track shots and just very, very close calls. He has a 3.29 ERA and a 6.32 FIP. His expected ERA is 6.13. And his expected WOBA against is in the 14th percentile. His expected ERA is in the 15th percentile. Expected slugging in the 13th percentile. His hard hit percentage is in the 56th percentile, and that's not great considering he's only striking out about 6 guys per 9.
6.1 with 4.4 walks per 9. That's not good. That's got to go down.
Yeah, so if you see Dylan Cease just kind of make a left turn, don't be that surprised.
Yeah. But if he doesn't, that'd be pretty cool.
That would be pretty wild, yeah.
I would love that. So now I want to get into the bullpen here because this team's bullpen has been extraordinary. Alex Colomé is 9 for 10 in save opportunities, a 1.15 ERA in 15 2/3 innings pitched, 11 hits, 2 earned runs, 7 walks. That is 4 walks per 9. Not amazing. 13 strikeouts for 7.5 Ks per 9. He's been really good. Evan Marshall, he is one of their 2 setup guys. a 1.96 ERA with 12.3 strikeouts per nine. Also a FIP of 2.28, which is really good. Matt Foster, a 1.53 ERA in 17 and 2/3 innings pitched, 10.7 Ks per nine, only 2.5 walks per nine too. So he's got the run prevention and the walk prevention with the big strikeout numbers. A strikeout to walk ratio of 4.20, so that's pretty cool. A lot of people are a fan of that. And that is the unknown three-headed monster in the White Sox bullpen. You also have Ross Detweiler, who's done extremely well. A 1.59 ERA in 17 innings pitched. So that's been pretty good.
Yeah, that's been pretty surprising, and very, if they wanted to get in the playoffs, they needed if they wanted to get into the playoffs, they needed Giolito, Keuchel, and Cease to do well along with their offense. If they wanted to win the division, they needed the bullpen to step up, and that's exactly what they're doing, and they have that division lead.
Next is the Oakland A's, team that had a bit of a scare around this time last week. They'd had a positive COVID test. Luckily, it didn't turn out to be anything too serious, but they are still leading the American League West. And they got a 3.5 game lead on the Astros. The Angels did them a lot of favors this past weekend.
Yeah.
And I mean, what are we looking at with this team, Chris?
I'm looking at. I think we're looking at a very. It's a team that's kind of led by their bullpen in a way.
It's very yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Matt Olson is still hitting 195, but he has an OPS plus of 113. Like, he's basically becoming – Matt Olson this year has been, 2017, 2018 Joey Gallo.
Yeah, because, Matt Olson is hitting 195, and on the Baseball Reference page, he's the wins above replacement leader.
Yep.
So they've been getting it from everybody. I mean –
Robbie Grossman, too. Robbie Grossman has really broken out for them. He has a 161 OPS plus. Also a 405 OBP, which is really impressive. His walk rate has got to be sky high. He got 18 walks in 121 plate appearances. Not bad.
Yeah, and then outside of Robbie Grossman, in that kind of starting lineup, there's no one else with an OPS plus above 130. It's just kind
Mark
of
Penn is at 128.
Yeah, it's kind of a cohesive unit. It's everyone's doing their part. No one's doing terrible, but no one's doing outside of Robbie Grossman. No one's doing crazy excellent. But
I think this team does have a starting pitching problem, though.
Yes, I would agree.
Frankie Montas started out doing really well. He now has a 6.06 ERA. Luzardo, I mean, he's doing pretty well for what it's worth, but I mean, he's 22. You got to question how ready he would be for an October setting right now, even though he did pitch in the wild card game last year. So I guess maybe that does nullify any concerns there. Chris Bassett has been all right, a 3.72 ERA. But yeah, like you mentioned, that bullpen is destructive. I mean, Liam Hendricks won reliever of the month for August. JB Wendelken has had a breakout season. Joaquin Soria, Yusmero Petit, TJ McFarland, your guy Lou Trevino, Chris. I mean, everyone has just been doing a really good job. And Mike Minor has only pitched one inning for them this year so far.
Yeah, it's tough, and you would have expected him to turn it around a little bit. Maybe he still can. But yeah, it does alarm you for the playoffs because, we've seen the A's have success, but we've only seen them in one-game series, and we've seen them lose both of them in recent memory. And, yeah, a 3-game series when, maybe one of those games is a bullpen game, which is, something that kind of scares you if you're an A's fan. The starting pitching is kind of an issue. They're definitely built to win in the regular season, but the postseason might be some treacherous waters for them.
So next we have the Cleveland Indians. This team is 25-15. They are a half game back of the White Sox, so they could be in first place by the time we're done recording this. Do either of them play today? Let me check. Nope, doesn't look like it. All right, so it looks like the White Sox will be in first place by the end of today, regardless of any outcomes. This team, it's weird because their offense has been lacking for a lot of the season. As a team, they're only hitting 227. That's good for 25th best in the league. That'd be, or fifth worst. Actually, the A's are hitting a little bit worse as far as batting average, but the A's at least have a 102 weighted runs created plus as a team. The Indians have an 86. So this offense has been lacking, and it's been defined. The team entirely has been defined by Shane Bieber and the starting pitching. I guess that sort of confirms what we already knew. We knew that if Cleveland was going to compete, it would be because of their starting pitching, and even without Clev, they're still holding their own.
Yeah. One guy who has been his usual self in the lineup is Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez has kind of been doing everything. He has an 843 OPS, and along with that, he has 9 stolen bases on 10 attempts, 9 home runs, 9 stolen bases, and on a 162 game pace, that's an easy 30-30 season. 9 divided by 40 times 162. So that would be 36 home runs and 36 stolen bases. That's his 162 game pace. So he's right back. He's like, the OPS isn't quite there, but in terms of home runs and stolen bases, he's right back to where he was when he was an MVP finalist.
That's right. Franmil Reyes has been doing really well for them.
Yes.
315 average with a 916 OPS, 141 OPS plus. He came over in the Bauer trade. So it's good to see him producing like he is. Outside of that, Lindor is doing pretty well. Tyler Naquin has looked pretty encouraging, but other than that, the offense has been kind of lacking.
Yeah, especially Carlos Santana.
I was about to mention him. He is such a weird slash line this year.
Yeah, we can get to the slash line, but he had a career year last year, and you expected him to have a semblance of that heading into this year, and he was one of your most important offensive factors from last year. But this year, 674 OPS, 83 OPS plus, kind of just not very good. But yeah, slash line is 203, 362, 312 for a 674 OPS. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
He still has more walks than strikeouts, even though he's struggling.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Tristan McKenzie, how about him? 22 years old, a 1.69 ERA through his first 3 big league starts, 279 ERA plus. He has worked himself right into that rotation. We could realistically see him in a playoff game this year. Yeah,
they've been that machine. I'm gonna just closing out on the Indians. I've got to look up where they rank starter ERA wise.
While you're saying that, if this offense clicks at the right time in October, they could make a World Series run. What's going to stop them if the offense can click at the right time?
I would agree with that. Because, if you have Santana, Lindor, Ramirez clicking, Reyes, if you have maybe Jordan Luplow come back to his 2019 self. Yeah, the Indians' starter ERA is 2.82, and then the next best is the Dodgers at 3.2. So they're almost 0.4 runs better than the next best starting pitching staff.
One last thing on the Indians. Oliver Perez, credit to this guy. He is still going. I had just turned 2 years old the first time he pitched in the major leagues. He has 15 years of service time. And guess what? He's still going strong for the Indians. A 1.29 ERA in 14 innings pitched with 1.9 walks per 9. Really good. Really, really good for Oliver Perez. And obviously, Karen Shack, we've talked about on this show. Brad Hand is 11 for 11 in saved opportunities. So the bullpen has been doing its job as well. So the Cleveland Indians, they are sneaky a complete team if the offense clicks.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. All right, we should probably pace ourselves a little quicker. Next is the Toronto/Buffalo Blue Jays. They're currently losing 5-2 to the Yankees right now, so they could drop to the 8th seed after today if they hold on. But I mean, I talked about their offense, especially when they're at home, and that's been a driving force for them.
Yeah, the Blue Jays are fun because it's the birth of something exciting happening in Toronto for, hopefully they have success for at least 3 or 4 years with this core before, free agency hits. And yeah, you're seeing the beginning stages of it all, even though not everyone is contributing. Yeah.
Oscar Hernandez has been the best hitter on this team.
Yeah, interestingly enough, it hasn't really been, Vladdy Jr., Biggio, and Bichette all year. It's been, Teoscar Hernandez, 995 OPS, Rowdy Tellez, 923 OPS, Randall Grichuk, 845, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., 832. Quality, some quality offense.
They've just been a quality lineup. And Hyunjin Ryu, I know he's getting kind of lit up tonight, but up until tonight, he was pitching pretty well, 2.51 ERA. Chase Anderson was doing well. He got rocked recently, though. The starting pitching does look a little concerning. The bullpen, though, I was going to talk about Jordan Romano, but he went on the DL. He had 12.9 strikeouts per 9 in his rookie season with a 1.23 ERA. He was closing out games for this team, but he went on the shelf. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, the bullpen has been pleasantly surprising, but the starting
Anthony Bass, Rafael Dolis, and AJ Cole.
Yeah, the starting pitching is what with the Blue Jays, they're an exciting team, but with the starting pitching, you just kind of see them getting a pretty easy first round exit because of, and you see the team that they're facing probably scoring a lot of runs off of guys that aren't named Hyunjin Ryu. But I mean, I guess if you get Ryu to win game 1, anything can happen in the next 2 games. But that starting pitching staff looks pretty rough, especially with the injuries.
All right, so now we move on to the Houston Astros. It's a real shame that these guys are only 21-19. I mean, everyone's rooting for them. They have a lot of likable guys on this team. They're accountable. They play the game the way everyone likes. It's just weird to see their struggles this year. I mean, you have to wonder what's different from last year, especially with the offense, because it's, sure, Garrett Cole not being there and Justin Verlander being out with an injury, isn't going to do them any favors. But, I mean, I feel you got to feel like they're better than this.
Yeah, I mean, a 103 team OPS plus is what I would say that's slightly alarming.
You have to wonder what happened.
Yeah, I mean, Altuve, a 606 OPS. I mean, that's a guy who's always kind of been, you can always clock him in for, a 300 average and an 850 plus OPS. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's
it doesn't help that Bregman and Altuve are both on the shelf right now. But I mean, this offense, Martin Maldonado, even he's at an 801 OPS. Like, he's been going. Like, what's the rest of the guys doing?
It is funny that their best offensive performers have been Kyle Tucker, who's a rookie, and Michael Brantley, who wasn't there until 2019.
Well, I mean, Michael Brantley's always been, like, when he's healthy, he's always been one of the best hitters in the league.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is, like, we don't really know if there was anything in 2019, and he's always been very good. So it is funny that, like, him and Tucker are the main guys.
I actually do want to talk on their pitching staff because they have a lot of rookies coming out of that, whether it be the bullpen, whether it be the starting rotation. But Framber Valdez has seemed to have figured it out. He's not a rookie, I don't think. But to give him credit, he's done pretty well. He has a 3.61 ERA with a 3.01 FIP. Christian Javier as well, 3.35 ERA. The only problem is he has a 5.14 FIP. That's not encouraging. Zach Greinke has been his usual Zach Greinke self. Andre Scrub, guy out of the bullpen for them. He's a rookie. He has an 0.57 ERA. but with a 4.17 FIP. That is a large difference. My gosh. Wow.
Yeah, Framber Valdez, oddly enough, is like at the top of like the innings per game started lists.
Mhm.
Like I'm looking at his game logs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's had 5 starts that have gone 7 innings or more, which is pretty incredible. And the pitch counts aren't that high, so I guess he's getting guys swinging early in counts. Which, hey, you got to respect it.
Exactly. I don't think I have anything else on this team.
Yeah, I mean their bullpen is interesting. I mean, new guys can pop up out of nowhere with a bullpen. Robert Osuna being out for the year definitely isn't going to help. But yeah, the bullpen has actually been pretty respectable this year. So
Yeah.
maybe not something to worry about.
So next we have the Minnesota Twins, the third team from the American League Central. They're only a game back of the White Sox for first place. So, I mean, they could be the 2 seed. They could be the 7 seed. They could be all over the place here. We really don't know where these people are going to finish. I'm just looking at their numbers right now. Their best hitter, of course, has been Nelson Cruz. We all knew that was going to happen. He is 39 years old, and he's still just crushing the ball. A 329 average, 643 slugging for a 1059 OPS, 186 weighted or OPS plus. He's been incredible. Miguel Sano is the exit velocity leader in the league. As far as the lineup goes, like Eddie Rosario's, he's got an above 100 OPS plus. So does Max Kepler, but he's on the DL. Outside of that, there's not been too many outstanding offensive performers that I'm seeing here. Josh Donaldson did get back from his injury, so that's encouraging.
Yeah, oddly enough, their team OPS plus is under 100, so not something you would expect. And you would expect them to kind of take a big step back, but their team ERA plus is 121, which is kept them in the race. For those who don't,
Kenta Maeda and Randy Dobnak have been kind of leading the rotation for them.
Yeah, for those who don't know, OPS plus and ERA plus average is set at 100. So if you're below 100, you're below average. If you're above 100, you're above average. So,
Right.
You know, they've been a very above average pitching team, which is definitely not something you would expect. I think Jose Barrios is he'll have his ERA will come back below 4 again, which is where you usually have him. And yeah, Maeda has been pretty huge this year along with Dobnak. So good on them. And Tyler Duffy and Tyler Clippard have been good at kind of keeping the bullpen afloat.
That's all I got on this team.
Yeah, that's about it with them. Interesting year for them.
All right, I'll let you introduce this next team.
So the 8th seed, the number 8 seed in the American League currently, it is it's not the Blue Jays, it's not the Indians, it is the New York Yankees. New York Yankees have been, and I have some stats in the New York Yankees. They're on a 5-14 run. They have lost 14 of their last 19 games, and a lot of this has to do with injury, and some of it has to do with relievers just not executing. So since August 18th, they are 27th in weighted runs created plus, meaning they're probably they've been the 4th worst offensive team in baseball since August 18th. This is their 5-14 run. Also, since August 18th, their reliever ERA is 22nd in the league, and their reliever home runs per 9 is dead last. So their relievers have given up the most home runs per 9 innings in their last 19 games. So, you kind of expect the offense to digress when you have those injuries, but the bullpen, they've built a lot of stock into that bullpen. That bullpen digressing is not what you want to see.
Yeah, I mean, they've had one of the worst bullpens by wins above replacement in the league for the last couple of weeks. I do want to get into some positives, though, because they do have them, and one of them is Luke Voigt. Yeah, you could argue that he has been the best offensive player in the American League this year. So for the whole season, a 945 OPS. Also homered again tonight. That was his 14th. He's been doing extremely well. 153 OPS plus. He's been carrying the freight for them with Judge and Stanton out, and when Torres was out, and when LeMahieu was out. Like, Luke Voigt has been the guy for them. He's kind of been consistent, and he's been like this ever since they got him.
Yeah, Luke Voigt has been the big surprise for them. Both of the main guys in that trade have kind of been overperforming. Giovanni Gallegos and Luke Voigt. Pretty interesting.
Clint Frazier as well. This guy, ever since he got to New York, he was in trade rumors, and I never understood it because he was always a highly rated prospect when he was in the Indian system and when he was traded for Andrew Miller. Like, yeah, you don't get traded for Andrew Miller in his prime if you're a scrub. And Clint Frazier has been putting it on this year. Walk rate is really high, which is encouraging because he has a 275 batting average with a 390 OBP. Also hitting the ball well in total for a 941 OPS. So he's been doing extremely well. Yeah,
there have been some secondary players on that Yankees team who have kind of held it together, which has kind of been their mantra.
And LeMahieu's still doing his thing too. He's hitting 363.
Yeah, he's been doing very well. So now I guess we should get into kind of the teams that are nearing that A seed possibly. It's not as big of a deal in the American League as it is in the National League, but I guess the Orioles. Who knew 2/3 of the way through the season we'd still be talking about the Orioles?
I sure did not.
They've kept afloat for the entire season, which has been very impressive to see.
And they don't keep in mind they're doing this all without Trey Mancini as well.
Correct. Yes.
He's out. Yeah. We've talked a lot about their offense on the show. We've mentioned Pedro Severino, I believe. We've mentioned Renato Nunez. You mentioned Hanser Alberto at the beginning of the season. Anthony Santander. I don't think we've touched on Jose Iglesias, who has a 396 average with a 955 OPS.
Yeah, he was doing really well, and he hit the IL for a little bit, but now he's back. Mm-hmm. He's been, unbelievable. 396 average with a 955 OPS. Yeah, Jose Iglesias has been unreal. And, even though he doesn't have any home runs, he's getting extra base hits. He has 13 doubles in 24 games, which is a torrid pace for Iglesias.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a team that has been kind of built on their offense from guys I guess you wouldn't expect. A lot of these guys never heard their name before, but it's been their offense. Their pitching, I'm actually looking. I'm surprised to see that they have an above average pitching staff so far, but I think it's a lot of bullpen, which interesting to see, but I wouldn't put too much trust in that long term. And then there's also the Detroit Tigers, who are they had the number one pick in the draft this year, and they're currently kind of staying afloat too.
Yeah, I guess I'll get into them. Jonathan Scope has been their best hitter overall, 305 with an 883 OPS. Jacoby Jones was amazing, but then he kind of slowed down and he hit the IL. Miggy, he obviously is past his prime, but he's doing what he can. 710 OPS, which, by all means isn't horrible. Obviously you're paying him a lot of money, but he's still mentoring a lot of guys. He's in his age 37 season. It's not like you can really expect a ton from him at this point. But yeah, you have him. Willie Castro, he only has 63 plate appearances, but he has a 922 OPS. He's been encouraging. He's only 23 years old. He's an infielder. So that's good to see. I want to look at some of the young pitching because Matthew Boyd has been struggling mightily with a 6.64 ERA. Spencer Turnbull, he kind of got roughed up in his last couple of starts. His ERA is up to almost 4. But really, the main people to look at in this rotation right now are Tarek Skubal and Casey Mize because they're the two rookies. They were top 100 prospects when they came up. Both of them have been struggling so far, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's sort of growing pains. Mize with a 675 OPS, Skubal with a 470. So, I mean, obviously this team isn't trying to make the playoffs right now. This is more a development stage, but I mean, they are in a position where they could sneak in right now, technically speaking.
Yeah, they are in that position. You get a couple bats hot, and you get the pitching to turn around. I mean, how many games out are they? They're 3 games out right now?
2 or 3 games out.
Yeah. So, hey, there is that. But yeah, interesting to see them still kind of muddling around the playoff race. And I guess there's maybe one last team we should mention. I'm not sure if this was the team.
I have 18 votes on this team, so I will go ahead.
The Seattle Mariners have been streaking pretty hard in the past week or so.
So if you listen to this show, you'd know that I kind of have a soft spot for the Seattle Mariners, and I think a lot of it ties back to the 1995 team that we did a show on back in late May. And I like to talk about the Mariners right now because they are in a very good spot. Not a lot of people are talking about it. They're 2.5 games out of a playoff spot right now. And they're starting – this stat is a bit dated, but between August 21st and September 5th, they led Major League Baseball in starting pitcher wins above replacement. And they played less games than everybody else because they had a series against the Oakland A's that got called off entirely due to a positive COVID test. So not only have they led the league in wins in starting pitcher war between these 2 weeks, but they did it in less games. So that makes it even more impressive. So I'd like to go over each of the starting pitchers. And mind you, this is the youngest team in all of baseball. They're only going to continue to get better from this point. Justin Dunn, who's 24, he was acquired in the Edwin Diaz-Robinson Cano trade. 2 earned runs over his last 18 innings pitched, Chris. That is a 1 ERA over his last 3 starts.
Wild.
Not bad. Yusei Kikuchi, he's 29. He is the 4th best SI ERA since August 23rd. If you don't know what that means, it's skill interactive ERA. It's another peripheral stat that sort of takes in balls in play like FIP does not. Marco Gonzalez, 28 years old. 3.09 ERA on the season. Actually, that's lower because he pitched really well today. But I saw a stat on the Mariners broadcast today when I was watching the game. Marco Gonzalez, his last 10 games pitched in T-Mobile Park, all quality starts. That is 10 in a row. Also, it's the 4th best streak in franchise history, according to the Mariners broadcast.
Wow.
Yeah. He is a 3.02 ERA this year.
Yeah, Marco Gonzalez, yeah, he's pretty good expected statistics. His exit velocity is 72nd percentile in the league. He's definitely a ground ball pitcher. Trying to look at his batted ball statistics.
He's also
not this year. Interesting.
He is the major league leader in walks per 9 and strikeout to walk ratio. He does not walk people, and by the way, he had no walks today as well, so that's even better. 24-year-old Nick Margevicis. This guy, no one really knows how high of a ceiling he has. He was kind of cut by the Padres last year. However, 3.86 ERA, pretty good. His hits per 9 dropped by 3.1 points from 2019. His walks per 9 dropped by 1.2, and his strikeouts per 9 has gone up 1.5. So he has looked a lot more promising this season. And then last but not least, 24-year-old, the third 24-year-old in this current rotation, Justice Sheffield. He's given up 2 runs or less in 4 of his 7 starts this season. Pretty good. So the Mariners, they had a 7-game losing streak in mid-August, and that ended on August 19th. And since then, they've won 12 of their last 16 games, I believe. Yeah, 12 of their last 16 games. That is the 3rd best record in baseball. And their remaining schedule is as follows. They go to San Francisco to play the Giants this week. The Giants have been surging, but those games are winnable. Then they go to Arizona to face the Diamondbacks. That's a team they should beat. And they play a doubleheader versus Oakland. That might be tough, okay, but if you can get one of those two, you're looking pretty good. And then you go and you face the Giants at home. Should once again, definitely could win that game. And you face San Diego at home. That's going to be tougher. That team is very good. And then you face Houston at home. And, the Astros are in the playoff picture, but they are 5-13 on the road this year. The Astros are 5-13 on the road, Chris. And they got to go to Seattle to play those Mariners. And they finish off the season with a 4-game set in Oakland. So they do have a couple tough opponents here and there. But overall, they could make a run at this thing. They're only 2.5 games out of a playoff spot. And they currently have an 8.5% chance to make the playoffs. And 25 years ago today, Chris, in 1995, they were out of a playoff spot. And they were 6 games behind the Angels for the division lead. And guess how that ended?
Yeah. The Mariners, they could do it. They could make a run at this thing.
If there's a dark horse team here, I'm looking at the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, and they've got a decent future ahead of them. So that's the American League. I think next episode we should do National League.
I like that idea.
Yeah, and then right now we'll get into our How About That's, highlighting a player or players or teams that have been particularly excellent as of late. So welcome to our Tuesday, September 8th edition of. So I will go ahead and start. I'm going to have you guess something. So I'm going to have you guess the top two the top two guys who have the most barrels this year, according to StatCast. Most barrels.
Is Corey Seager one of them?
Corey Seager is number 2, and he is behind Fernando Tatis Jr. I'm talking about Corey Seager.
I nailed it.
He is second. Yeah, he got that pretty quick. He is second in barrels to Fernando Tatis Jr., and he's gone incredibly under the radar for the whole year, and he's been one of the best players in the National League, and people have kind of forgotten about him. People were pretty excited about him early in his career. He got Tommy John. He was out for pretty much all of 2018. He was okay, slightly above average last year, but this year he's back to, MVP finalist caliber. So he's hitting .331 with a 10-10 OPS, and he is currently 10th in baseball in weighted runs created plus with 168. And he owns StatCast. He owns Baseball Savant. His exit velocity is in the 98th percentile. His hard hit percentage is also in the 98th percentile. His expected weighted on-base average is in the 100th percentile. His expected batting average is in the 99th percentile. Expected slugging in the 100th percentile. His barrel percentage in the 97th percentile. And his strikeout percentage even is in the 88th percentile. So he's not even striking out to go along with all those barrels he's putting up. And, he's just been excellent. And he's really ramped it up since August 16th. Since August 16th, he is hitting .372 with an 1130 OPS. And also since August 16th, he is 6th in weighted runs created plus. He's been super, super consistent on this Dodgers teams, and one of the reasons why they're the best team in the National League. So there's Corey Seager.
All right, I like it. My how about that for today. Entered Monday, 4th in the majors in average and 4th in the majors in OBP. And then he went 3 for 6 today. I'm talking about Michael Conforto of the New York Mets. He currently owns a .348 average, a .436 OPS, a .436 OBP, and a .997 OPS. He has a .427 WOBA, which is tied for 6th in the majors, also 174 weighted runs created plus which is sole possession of sixth in the majors. And last year, he had a 3.58 WOBA and 126 weighted runs created plus. So he has had a massive offensive surge this year. Michael Conforto has been killing it for the Mets.
Yes, Michael Conforto, one of the reasons they're getting back in the playoff picture in Queens. So now we go from the highs to the lows. Now we're doing slightly alarming statistics, highlighting a player or teams or players, plural form, that have been struggling. Guys that we had higher expectations for who are kind of tanking as of late. So my slightly alarming statistics are dedicated to a guy, a highly touted prospect coming up, and he was, according to Baseball Prospectus, he was the second best prospect in baseball. I'm talking about Joe Adell. Joe Adell has, and he can have success in the future, but his time in the major leagues has been very, very rough for him thus far. He's currently hitting 194 with a 573 OPS, and since his debut, he has the third worst strikeout percentage in all of baseball. His whiff percentage is in the second percentile, and his hard hit percentage is in the 13th percentile. So he's been having a rough time from the batter's box, and even in the field hasn't been great. He has -5 outs above average. There's been a very below average fielder according to StatCast, and also to top it all off, since his debut, he has the worst Fangraphs WAR in all of baseball. Slightly alarming. So Joe Adell having a rough time adjusting to the major leagues so far.
You went all LA for this today.
I did.
All right, well, you went all LA. I'm going all NL East. My slightly alarming is Patrick Corbin.
All right.
Over his last 5 starts, he is 0-4 with a 5.53 ERA. The slash line against 322, 383, 548, and 931. And his K percentage has gone down 7% since 2019. The Nationals as a whole have been skidding, but Patrick Corbin in particular has not looked good at all over his last 5 starts.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much a representative of the lack of Nationals success. Yeah, we kind of expected them to underperform, but not to this extent.
This is World Series hangover if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, it is pretty insane. But at least they won that World Series last year and kind of hit on their winning window, their championship window, so to say. So that is slightly alarming statistics. Now we're gonna preview the week ahead in baseball. Not everybody is playing tonight, Monday, but everyone's back in action on Tuesday. And some interesting matchups. What matchups are you looking at this upcoming week?
On our last show, Chris, you talked about how Yu Darvish versus Jack Flaherty was going to be the matchup you watched for in the coming weekend. Well, this week on Wednesday, we got Trevor Bauer versus Yu Darvish.
Oh, again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'll be watching that series and that game, and we'll talk more about the Reds on the next show, even if they're not in the playoff picture, because they deserve some talk right now.
Yes, we will do that. One series, I guess you could call it a series, but it's really just a doubleheader on Tuesday, and I think it's 2 pretty competitive teams, 2 important games for each team. Twins and Cardinals are matching up twice on Tuesday. That's something I would watch for. You got Jose Barrios versus Carlos Martinez in Game 1. And then in Game 2, you have Randy Dobnak versus Daniel Ponce de Leon. Two teams that are kind of fighting for a second place spot or even a top division spot. And two teams that are competing pretty heavily for that. And I think that's going to be a good matchup.
All right.
So that is the end of the episode. We hope everyone enjoyed kind of our breakdown of the American League playoff picture. We'll get right into the National League playoff picture on the midweek episode. So we hope you enjoyed our breakdown of the AL playoff picture, or how about that, so slightly alarming statistics, or preview. And we hope to see you in the middle of the week on Thursday when we're talking about the National League playoff picture. See you then.